So that was interesting, and I think I'm probably changed forever in that experience. In doing this, if you watch this, and I think what came out of it was the statement I used in the overview of the videos, that because of this, and I've talked about it before on those when I was talking about this, in this video, about how somehow design reveals itself, or which is what the statement is, that design reveals itself through observation, and that kind of is what it is. So rather than it being an intention to start with, it just becomes, just the design reveals itself, which was. I don't know whether or not it's going to make me think more about the design side of things, or whether I just do what I do and it is what it is. I think the latter more than the former, because it is that. Let's take this paper. It's messed up. I've said this before about a friend of mine that works on creased up paper deliberately. Don't think that's going to keep me capable of doing what I need to do on that other one. I'm going to use that other piece. It is what it is. As I said before, I use whatever paper's on the easel. I use it. I'm not going to waste that just in case I have to use that one. So I'm going to draw this young lady, which is the same lady in that dress, but she's got a shawl on it. This will be all right. This paper. So I'm gonna do what I think I've learnt, which is just do it. Don't bother too much about the trying to design it. I think one of the things about the examples that of these amazing in the first video, I couldn't put every amazing portrait figure drawing type of example in there, but there were just some incredible ones. And I think what the decision or the conclusion that I came to with those is that those guys are just good at doing it. They're just, I don't know whether it's not contrived. It's just they've spent a lot of them have spent a long time, like say Jeremy Mann. Spent a long time. The amount of work he's done, and it's incredible stuff. I'm not so keen on the street scene stuff, but when he does figurative and his plein air stuff, just the guy's just like a legend, So, but yeah, that's it. There are people that can just do it, and it's good that they've found that they can, and the rest of us are just struggling to keep up. If at all, we're not even the same. We're not even in the same race. So, but it's fine. I think that's probably one of the conclusions that I came to a long time ago, which is, this is my thing. Let him do his thing. Let him be great in his world. I just want to do my thing. And I don't know. I wouldn't call it stoicism. I'm not a fan of stoicism, but back in the day when I was into philosophy, Stoic philosophy was not one that I was more of a cynic, being more dog thing. That was me. I still am, really. I still think that the cynic philosophy is a much more joyful way of looking at things. I'm not talking about cynics that we know now. The people that think everything's wrong and everything's bad and it shouldn't be done and all that. Those kind of the words being hijacked, but for the wrong reason. But the original sense of it, the cynic philosophy was. Apart from what Diogenes did, he became a dog basically and supposed to have lived in an urn or something, or one of those, what they call those big M4, is it? Something like that. And peeing in the street and all that kind of stuff, and being a dog. But yeah, as I say, now I'm quite, I'm cool with that. The fact that there are people out there that do really good work. I like that. I like the fact that people can get to see their thing, what they do. That's the thing I was talking about the other week about, this. It's a shame that there is for all the work that's created in the world, there's only a small proportion of it is ever seen. It's like that's the sadness, really. I think is what I was getting at the time I mentioned that, and unfortunately, people like Jeremy Mann are able to. People are able to see what he does. I mean, there are others as well. Those other guys. I said in the video, I can't pronounce the surnames, and I hate the idea of mispronouncing or getting it wrong in some way. So I'd rather just say that guy. That guy over there is brilliant. As I said with the figurative thing, I'm not. I don't think I am a figurative artist because I think they look crap. I think figures just standing in a room or sat on a chair looks boring and just, if it's not a commission, it's like, why? And then the other one is the people doing stuff thing, the scenes, people sat around a table having coffee and all that kind of thing. It just becomes about the doing. It becomes about the skill of doing it. And as I said, I'm not really. That's not really my bag. Somebody just put on the. I don't know why they put it on, but they put this comment on one of the videos. Put more figurative work up. Why? 9 times out of 10, people don't listen to what I'm saying. Maybe it's the language thing. I think that's probably what it is. And all I'm trying to do is help people to open up their eyes to, how they should approach this. That's all. Not necessarily in a preachy way, because that's not, it's not me. There are many ways to approach this, but sometimes people get in their own way, and I'm the worst at that, or I was. These days, it's everything. The gates are open, and I'm running around the field. You know what I mean? Like when the horses just got out of the stables. So I just want other people to experience that as well. So that's the thing that I talk about the most, and that I want to share my approach in order that people could then experience it like I do. What's up with this paper? You see, even the stuff you get from the shops sometimes has a problem with the it's got a. I think what happens is, when it grows and it gets near a kind of spur, I think that's what happens, and it changes and becomes scratchy. So it's all right now. Yeah, so I'm going to say that the figurative thing, and doing this, there is so much similarity for me. The shape thing, as opposed to the construction thing. Like I said in the overview of the video, it's not about construction; it's about discovery. It's a different kind of approach altogether to discover what the face, the emotional element. I mean, obviously, it's all driven by the way you feel about them, but discovering the face, the portrait, as opposed to trying to construct it, is a it doesn't. I've said this before. I could draw anything, but it doesn't matter what it is. There's always this relationship of objects, tone, shapes, tone, lines, whatever. There's all about that relationship of those things. And it was interesting. I'll tell you what was interesting about that, and I'll show you in a minute, that the girl thing was the I do the shape isolation thing. I suppose it's part of my seeing, to see shapes, not the shapes that the people talk about, the constructed ones, but I just see there's a shape there, and I'm going to see how that shape relates to that shape in there, and I isolate the shapes in order to compare the shapes, if you know what I mean. And I did that with the front of the girl's frock and things. So it was the dress, and it just makes things so much easier, because you can see, the relationships are clearer, and so size wise you get them right. So you're looking at when people talk about the big shape. So I suppose that is the main one. If you want to do that, if you want to look at the big shapes, what I wouldn't do, and I've just seen a friend of mine doing this, is try and identify the whole, because that's a real hard thing to do. The people might identify the whole of the head or the face and then fill in the middle, that one, and that's a nightmare. I mean, that takes great skill. I've seen people do it, but it takes great skill, that, and years of practice. So it's better if you treat it as smaller components and compare their relationships. It's a lot easier that way. And if you break down the position of things into simple locations, simple tags, then it's even easier, because it's not about the extremities, the perimeters of something which you're then going to color in. It's not about that. It's about where's this fence end, kind of thing, in the perimeter. Where's the top of this fence? Where's the bottom of this fence? It's that kind of thinking. The paper's not bad. I quite like the way that it's going a bit weird. It's going a bit blotchy. I think it's because it's very smooth. It might well be photocopier paper, because I did have at one point had some on here, and I don't really take it off. I'll just keep working through it, and maybe it's what's left over from when I had the copier paper on. So this is partly to do with the paper, I think, as well. The way that the tones are working, and it's kind of and it's the smoothness of the paper, I think, more than anything else. It's kind of a painterly feel about it. I think also, and that, as a consequence, I think it's affecting the way I'm drawing. This thing about, the sort of evolution thing. I'm seeing how it's working and I'm responding accordingly. I think the big difference, I suppose, it's just the elements themselves, but the big difference between this and the figurative thing was, or is, the scale of the marks that you make, because obviously it was just I only work at this size, so I'm kind of limited to the and I work with a fairly chunky piece of charcoal, so I'm not able to make particularly fine marks. But at this size, it doesn't really matter. It kind of is perfect. The size of the reference, it's perfect for me to make more suggestive marks and go with a bit of a light tapping off of something, or slightly adjusting the tones. That's probably another reason why I like to do larger face portraits. One of the things that I learned with the smoother papers is that they have a tendency to clump, because the charcoal sits on the surface and it will suddenly make black marks like that, and there's no way getting back from that. So you've got to be careful. If that ever happens, just rub it off and start again with it if you can. Like I say, it's just that the charcoal sits on the surface, so you got to be careful not to end up with these great big black marks. And I'm putting this on because this is going to be the the shadow, the background, and it's this here. So it's just so I can get that highlight down her face there. Some of it anyway. I'm probably going to have to put some of the I'm going to have to put some of it in, sort of edges and things. But like I say, it's different again at this size for me. And some of this might be considered to be design elements, design considerations, the way I'm doing it now. But like I said, it kind of reveals itself. If it is design that is that's starting to show, then it's revealed through observation. It's got to be. I think it's through observation and execution, because you kind of, I said about the paper being a bit slippy and the charcoal responding in a certain way. Those two factors are impacting on the way that I'm making the marks. And I'm going to use a cotton bud here for this. I'm just thinking about that. There's a strange little lump there. There you go. We'll also get rid of some of these puppet line type things there. Yeah. So as I say, it's at this stage, at this size as well. I think at this size, that working at this size with a subject like this, all these factors of the sort of paper, the charcoal, my response are much looser. You know, they're much more responsive because of the, you know, the size, and you know, the marks can be more bigger and bolder, because ultimately you see it in its compressed state, if you like. You know, when you do it bigger and you look at it smaller, it seems to all gel. I think the trick with that, though, is that, and I think that's a lot of people have that problem, is that they get too close to the work. I mean, that's what I used to do. I get too close to things. If I get too close now, the same thing happens. So I tend, if I can, to work at arm's length all the time. Sometimes I take the board off the easel, but very rare. And I'll, you know, not use a small sharp piece of charcoal or a charcoal pencil unless I really have to. And I did have to on that the design lady. But as I said, it's as much as I can, I've done it with a big piece of charcoal, and not succumbing to getting drawn into the detail. It's funny. I'm looking at this now, and on that video, I put a drawing by Guerrilla Brigade. He's got, I don't know his name. Years ago, I remember seeing his work, and then he calls himself Guerrilla Brigade on Instagram, and this work's amazing. And it's like it's fine art. It's what it is. It's not illustration type of look how well I can draw figures. You can draw figures, by the way, amazing artists as well. But it's fine art. Anyway, I'm looking at this and thinking about that one that I've put on of that head and the script. This is the kind of thing he'd do, and he'd leave it at that, you know. So whether or not I've been influenced, I mean, I've seen his work before, so I can't say it is about being influenced, but you know, this time. But it definitely reminds me. You know, the thing about, you know, not looking at stuff on Instagram because it can. See, I've got that, and I have that terrible curse of being instantly influenced by somebody's work. I may not be able to do it, but that's a different matter. But I am influenced by other people's work to a point where it influences the way I look at things, the way I do things. That's a bad thing. You know, it's a bad thing for me. I don't want that. I don't want to be sucked into somebody else's answers. You know, I want to find my own route. Thank you very much. It's funny that, because I've just been talking to Jackson, my eldest, and we were talking about this cage fighter guy and MMA, and the fact that he's like a god. He's a master, and he never had any training. He just figured it all out for himself, and I relate to that. I don't want people. I've only got one go at this, and I don't want to do it like you do it. I don't want to do it like he does it. I want to do it like I do it. You know what I mean? So I've got that in me. I just want to do it. I just want to find my own route, my own path. And I've always been like that. I did that with design. I did that with technical illustration. It's just, you know, just inbuilt in me to say, I just want to find my own way. Thank you very much. And I'll enjoy the journey far better, far more. But as I said, it's a curse and a blessing sometimes, though, you know, because it's like everybody looks at me as if I'm some kind of lunatic that thinks he knows better. And I don't know better. I certainly don't know better. That's the truth of it. There are too many great artists out there that just I'm dirt beneath their shoe. But that's kind of the point, and not the point at the same time. I quite like being the dirt on a great artist's show. You know, I'm not purporting to be anything other than what I am, which is what an artist should do. You know, this is me. Thank you very much. Like it, leave it. And all the answers, all the stuff. You know, the the mindset thing is a consequence of me figuring stuff out, because you got to have a particular mindset if you're driven by your own, to your own destiny. You've got to have a mindset that reinforces that, not one that's doubting of your journey. So I say I've kind of cultivated all the mindset stuff in relation to that. So it's facilitating me rather than hindering me with doubt. You see, I would do full figures this size. This would be the head, and you know what I mean. I can't stand up in here, so it wouldn't be a feasible thing. But I would do figures at this size because it suits the size of the tool I'm using, and it suits the marks I'm making. So I could do it. I could do that, but I don't have the, as I say, I don't have the room in here or the board big enough. I put an A2 board on this; it's massive. So and then you've got to, if you follow doing this right. If I'm in, my eye line has to be in the middle of the paper, right? So that doesn't get smaller than that. So amplify that with a full figure, and I've got to be stood in the middle of the paper. So the top doesn't get, you end up with the head too small or too big, I think. So that means I've got to stand up, and I can't stand up in it. So that's going to happen. Not going to happen. I see these people with amazing studios, and I get studio envy. A friend of mine's got an absolutely amazing studio, and it's just one of her rooms she's converted, and in the house, and just incredible. And I just said to her, I'm so envious of that, having that facility, and then there's the guys that have those roll up and down things. Those are amazing. Those easels that can move up and down, and it's like Volkov, or what his name is. He sits as his thing now. He sits at his easel and just moves up and down, which is incredible. And the thing is that about that, he draws these amazing scenes, and he gets all the proportions right and everything, just being sat at it. So that's just practice skill. That's the only way you're going to get that good, is to do it over and over and over and over and over again. And then, as I say, you then getting things in the right place is not, is kind of a natural thing. If you're working fresh every time, and it's a completely different subject or a different pose or whatever, if it's different every time, you've got to be able to see with accuracy. So that's kind of one of the problems, is that this paper being so smooth that, and of course the rubbers are not a particularly great implement for drawing with. But when I do things like that, it's going to take off, well back to the paper, and I'm just going to be careful with that, because it can be a little too aggressive. Sometimes I can't remove, like on the girl, I couldn't remove the charcoal back to white, and other times it's exactly what happens, like with this one. So again, it's one of those things you just got to roll with it, to coin a phrase. So with the style stroke design conclusion in mind, I'm tempted to get this pretty much near to where it wants to be and leave it, because I like all this. I might put a little bit of a bit more effort into the into maybe the hair or something like that, but I quite like it how it looks. Like I say, I'm thinking the Guerrilla Brigade at the moment with just because I started thinking about that, and it's now in my brain, and that kind of loose finish thing. If anything, I would say that, and one of the things that I don't like it when people make photographic faces stuck in the middle of a mayhem of charcoal. I don't like that. It's either one or the other. I can't. It's too much of a. It's, you know, as if you cut a photograph out and stuck it on something. I don't like that. But so I try not to make it photographic, and so consequently, you'll see all the lines and some of the stuff. It's got lots of lines in it. But at the same time, however I represent the tones, I want them to be accurate. You know, I want it to have the right balance. You can see there's that thing there. Now it's either this here that's out of whack, this bit here that's pushing that to be too dark, which it might be, or it is too dark. And I'm going to take it up and see what happens. See whether or not it actually starts to balance. I'm going to bring the nose in as well. So the nose is more, looking at the alignment, it's about there. So I'm looking at alignments there. So where does that trajectory fit? It's there on where it is now. And then it's kind of, you see the highlight on the corner of the bottom of the mouth there. It's there as well. So it's kind of like there. So, well, it is there. And the other one then is that sharpness of that eyebrow there. But as I said, I'm not really a fan of the photographic resemblance thing. It's too much hard work with that stuff. I've seen guys that do that. A friend of mine does it, and it's just proper days and days, and those big ones as well. So days and days of work, I'll get fed up, you know. So I can't do that kind of stuff. And the people that do those huge things, you know, the ones that are on the wall, it's they roll it down and do, oh, crikey, that takes some flipping patience, that does. And connection, you know. I mean, I know they wear headphones, listen to music and drift off and all that sort of stuff. But even so, I could, you know, I'd run out of music. I still get to a point where I'd be bored to tears. You shouldn't say that, really, should you? I mean, that's how disrespectful to them. But it's me. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about me. I'd get bored to tears doing that. I can't say I like it, though. I don't really like what they do. So maybe that is disrespectful. But that's me. It's just my view, not theirs, not anybody else's. Yeah, I think the rosy cheek thing is a problem still. So I'm going to try and just kill that a little bit, and then I'll come back and maybe even it out a little bit. Yeah, the other one is the that bit there. You know that you can see it there. It sort of comes down, and then it's too much of a bottom lip tucking. You know, a sticking out thing. It comes out. It comes down, and then you know, the overall shape of that thing there. Yeah, that's better. And then the other one is the yeah, let's just fix that a little bit because it still looks a bit like she's tucked in a bit there. I'm just going to try and get rid of some of this. These clunky lines, they're all a bit sort of spiky and not quite. I don't mind them being slightly spiky, but not. I want them to be a bit more flowing than that. So I'll get rid of that too much highlight on the top of the nose there. Yeah, I think it's done. I know what you're saying. Don't look done to me. I know. Looks like somebody put. So I did this with a beady man, and I don't know what I was rabbiting on about. Something about the when to stop, I suppose. And he put on it underneath. He said, "It still looks like a scribble to me, though." That's what he put on. Yeah, well, whatever, mate. Whatever. It still looks like a scribble to me. What are you on about? I'm just checking the distances at the moment, sort of scanning, this kind of thing. The funny thing is, as I said this before about the relative size of things, it's often when things look too big or not big enough, it's often because the thing that you're using as a comparison is too big or too small. It can be the opposite of what you're trying to fix. Because you kind of don't know that in freehand terms. You're always looking for things to anchor to. It's kind of in comparison to, from distance from, all that kind of stuff. So it may not be that the mouth's wrong. It may be that the eye's too big. It's that kind of stuff. But you think the mouth's wrong, and you'll focus on the mouth. And you can't think, well, why can't I get the mouth right? It's because it's not the mouth that's wrong. It's the eye was too big or whatever. Yeah, done. Apart from, famous last word. Apart from just getting the nose a little bit less of a black spot. Yeah, you can see it better there. And then this is dark, but not too dark there. Yeah, done. Done. Like I say, I think it might have been influenced by some of those drawings I was looking at today. You know, this was the one from the other day. How I draw charcoal portraits. Still an issue with that nose there. I'll fix that, but quite finished, as you can see, apart from the hat, which is deliberately on it. And then the woman today. So just be careful, don't put things down on wet charcoal. And then the woman today is, and I think more than anything else, it's the looking at and trying to draw that comparison and looking for whether or not there are people that actually design. The conclusion isn't that they're not; they're just good at what they do. And then coming to this and seeing, as I say, seeing all those great portraits. I think, as I said before, I have a terrible curse of mimicking other people's drawings. I mean, this was before I started looking. This was after I started looking. The nose is a bit wonky, but I'm going to fix that in a minute. But you know, when it's that, for me, that's me. That's me there. As few marks as possible to illustrate what I'm trying to show you. If it gets a bit complicated, like it did with the woman, really, then I'm going to lose interest in it. I need that vibrance, that instant quality about it. Anyway, right, I'll catch you in the next one.